You're listening to the Love Over Addiction podcast. Hey, so normally I try to keep this podcast clean, but today I'm going to be using some bad language. I'm going to be talking about a personal story that I have permission to use. My daughter came downstairs the other morning. I was sitting on the couch trying to meditate, and she said, "Mom, can I talk to you?" And I thought, oh, this is going to be an important conversation, because when my kids ask me that, I always know whatever I'm doing, I need to put down and give them my ultimate attention, because it's going to be a conversation and a half. And she told me about her best friend, one of them. Now, for those of you that don't know, and again, I have full permission to talk about this from my daughter. My daughter is gay, and it's something that I am 1,000% not only supportive of, but excited about. I always knew, having so many kids, that odds were good that one of them would turn out to be gay. I just assumed it would be one of my boys. I don't know why I made that assumption. It was very naive. But when my daughter told me, I was thrilled. So happy, and of course ran out and got a bunch of books. I already kind of had a speech prepared in my head, because I had done so much research about, or heard so many gay people talk about how important it is when they come out to their parents, how their response, the first couple sentences, really, really matters. And I wanted to nail it. So I was like, if my kid ever comes out as being gay, I want my first couple sentences to really show them that I'm supportive and loving and excited. So I already had a speech planned out. I just thought it was going to be for one of my boys. So I adjusted my speech. And anyways, long story short, we're all thrilled. My entire family is excited and happy for Lauren. And we went out. I bought rainbow. Of course, I love to dress. I love clothes. And so I got everyone in my family rainbow t-shirts and sent them around to my parents and my brother and his wife, and had them ask them if they could please make videos for Lauren in their shirts, in their rainbow boot t-shirts, telling her that they love her and they're happy for her, just so she can have a collection of memories to, if she ever feels attacked or vilified or unsupported in her life, that she can look at the videos and know, yeah, I've got a really solid support group. And this episode, I promise, does include important information about addiction. I'm just taking a long personal way there, so bear with me today. So anyways, going back to my daughter, I had no idea that there was still so much prejudice against homosexuals. Of course, with the riots going on these days, and the Black Lives Matter movement being so prevalent, I am very aware of the prejudice that goes on against African Americans and minorities. But I just thought we had moved on past the prejudice against homosexuals. And just recently, one of Lauren's very good friends, a male friend, got mad at her, and again, here comes the swearing, and wrote her a text saying, "You're a fucking idiot and a faggot." And Lauren came downstairs, and this is what she wanted to talk to me about, and said, "I don't know what to do." And so it opened up a dialogue between us about what does verbal abuse look like. And what do verbal abusers, or even abusers in general, look and sound like? And immediately it brought me back to my first marriage when I loved somebody suffering from addiction. And I was explaining to her, Lauren, when you are in a relationship, whether it's romantic or even a friendship, with somebody who has abusive tendencies, they are not going to look like an asshole right away. Abusers are smarter than that. They know they're not going to be abusive right off the bat, because then you wouldn't give them the time of day. You're a smart girl. You would have said, screw you, I'm out of here, and left the relationship, or had not even begun the relationship. But abusers know they need to capture you, rope you in, charm you, get you to care for them deeply before they can truly reveal who they are or a side to them. And I was telling her, look, even if your friend is 99.5% a good guy, that other 0.5% that is abusive, that is willing to call you names, that is willing to belittle you, still is unacceptable, and you have to pay attention to that. That still defines them as abusive, and you cannot ignore that. I explained to her that this is an opportunity in your life, a very real and solid opportunity to value yourself, to declare self-love and say, you know what? This is over. This friendship, this relationship is not going to happen, because I'm not going to put up with somebody that talks to me like this. I love myself too much to make space and to make excuses for you to call me hurtful names, for you to belittle me. And of course, as soon as this friend called her this horrible name, he called her a faggot, and he said this terrible, terrible words to her, she went silent and was now sitting in the living room with me. Well, as we're talking, he's writing her saying, where the hell are you? I want to talk about this. Answer your phone or I'm going to pull my hair out. And if you've taken any of our programs, you will know that there is a cycle of abuse, and this is part of the cycle, which is the abuser wants to continue the engagement with you. They follow you, they stalk you, they won't let you go. They want to continue the disagreement. And so, let me ask you a question today. Is there anyone in your life that reminds you of my daughter's friend? Is there anyone in your life that is saying terrible things to you? And I'm going to get specific here, so pardon me for my language, but is anyone telling you to shut the fuck up? Is anyone telling you you're a whore? Is anyone telling you that you're a bitch, that you're a whiner, that you, that you're a slut? Is anyone belittling your past? Is anyone trying to keep you under their control by hurting you and harming you and lashing out at you? Remember, abusers groom their victims. So they sit there and they'll say something so incredibly hurtful, but usually it's not right away in the relationship. Usually it's after they have gotten you in a position where you care for them, where you love them, and they test you slowly, right? They don't start off with just a bang, shut the fuck up. They usually start off with little dings, little pings, little hurtfulness to see how much can this person take? How much can I get away with? How much can I lash out? And my daughter, I could see this relationship meant a lot to her. There's a lot of history there. And she was tempted to make excuses. She was tempted to belittle right? She was tempted to go, well, he's never really done that before. But instead, she stopped herself. She goes, Mom, I feel so embarrassed because I never really saw the signs. I guess there were warning signs now that I think back over the history of our friendship. There were warning signs, but I ignored them. And she's like, she put her hands in her, she put her head in her hands and like kind of like bent down, and I could tell she's like, I just feel sick. I just feel sick to my stomach because I feel so embarrassed that I didn't see this sooner. And I opened up to him in ways I really trusted him. And I opened up to him and I told him things. And she was cringing, to use my teenage words, cringe. I was cringing at like all of thinking back on all the things and the ways that I've really been vulnerable with him. And I thought, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm looking at me, I'm feeling like I'm looking at me in the sense that, don't we all sit there and kind of beat ourselves up for being in a relationship with somebody who doesn't treat us well and continuing to put up with it and tolerate it? Don't we all feel slightly embarrassed or ashamed of ourselves? And I said to her, no, baby, you don't. Look, I think a lot of women have been here. And instead of sitting there beating yourself up about it, feeling embarrassed, which is okay, but can we move through it? And can we say, okay, let's remember we are empowered here. We are empowered human beings, and we can choose what we are willing to put up with. We can choose to set up boundaries, to put up walls around ourselves that protect us from people that harm us. I said, think about your girlfriends, and she has a great group of girlfriends. I said, if one of them were to say this to you, would you sit there and make excuses? Would you sit there and would you say, that's not a relationship that I need to continue to be involved in, and make adjustments in your life accordingly? You probably would sit there and say, no, this is not good. I don't need this in my life. This is an opportunity for you to honor yourself, to honor your values and your morals, and say, you know what? No, I'm not doing that. I'm not allowing somebody to talk to me like that. And so as we were sitting together, she grabbed her phone, because this is, how we communicate in 2020, grabbed her phone and texted and said, you know what, I'm sorry, but actually she didn't say I'm sorry. She said, you know what, I'm going to take a little pause, a break from our friendship right now, just to reflect and to grab my bearings, and I'll reach out to you if and when I want to. She wasn't burning any bridges. She wasn't exploding back. She wasn't retaliating with hurtful things. She was just claiming her space, honoring her soul, recognizing her womanhood, and saying, this is not okay with me. At 16. And I'm so amazingly proud, because it's the exact opposite of what I did when I was 16. And I told her, I used to when I was her age, I was in a very abusive relationship with a man who treated me horribly. And I loved him. And most of the time, he was great. And so I absolutely made excuses and said, yeah, but the 95%, he's such a funny guy. He's super popular. Everybody likes him. All my girlfriends want to be with him. I'm so lucky that he chose me. And it was so bad, you guys. I still have nightmares about that guy to this day. And I didn't honor my soul. I know why those nightmares continue to happen. I didn't make a healthy girl's decision by saying, No more. I'm not going to let this happen. I can do better. I can be better. This is not love. This is not healthy. And I'm wise enough to recognize that. I didn't do what my daughter did today. And I'm so proud. And this is, again, why I continue to say to you, addiction is such a wonderful opportunity. When it happens to us and it feels like a world is closing in and it feels like we have no options and it feels like our future is doomed, it is not true. This is a blessing. This is an opportunity, because if I had not been in a relationship with an abusive man, if I had not been in a relationship with an addictive man, I would not be able to pass down the wisdom to my kids to show them there is a different way. I would not have the wisdom to be able to recognize the patterns that I didn't recognize and be able to educate my daughters on not getting into unhealthy relationship and educate my sons on ways to treat women, ways to treat other human beings. I would not be able to make a healthy decision who I allow in my life and who I don't. And like I told my daughter today, it is better to be lonely or to have just one really true friend than to have a bunch of friends that include people in our lives who are abusive. Think about it. She was in a competition with her best friend for a poetry contest at school, and her best friend won. And her best friend is the sweetest, most wonderful girl in the world. And I said, how did you feel? How did you treat her when she won? And she goes, Mom, she said she didn't want to talk about it in front of me because she was worried about rubbing my face in it. And I said, no, please talk about it. I'm so happy for you. I'm celebrating you. I want you to do well. Put it on a t-shirt, advertise it. Please bring it up with me. And that is true friendship, and that is true love. And then I used, when she was talking to me about the way what this boy, definitely not a man, had said to her, I brought up how I am of the belief that when my husband and I have a disagreement, we don't go into another room to discuss it away from the children. I actually love to discuss it in front of them because I want to model for my children what it looks like to have a healthy, loving argument. I want them to be able to see what I say to their father, how their father receives that, and then how their father responds, and then how I receive that and I respond. So the other day we were having an argument over something. And it was, when I say argument, I don't mean there's no shouting, there's no name calling, there's no swearing, or there might be swearing, but not at each other. Sometimes I swear like a sailor. It's one of my terrible vices. But there's no like calling somebody a name. That's not fair. That's not playing by the rules. And Lauren was in the room and she grabbed her phone and started to get on her phone. And I said, no, Lauren, put the phone down. I want you to see this. I want you to witness this. I want you to learn from this, because here's the truth. I say it all the time. Anger is okay to feel. If you are a spiritual person, if you are, believe in God or even know of Jesus, Jesus got so angry in the temple, he threw up the table. Like Teresa in the Real Housewives of New Jersey. You guys, I can't believe I just referenced that in a podcast. Lord, what am I coming to? Yes, I just mentioned the Real Housewives. And I think I've done that more than once in a podcast. But Jesus lifted up a table and got pissed. He was angry. Anger is not bad. Anger is a normal feeling. Don't shove anger down. Experience it. Allow it to come through you. But the key is, when you get angry, express it in a healthy format. Use your big words. Be a mature adult. Express your feelings, but don't do it in a mean, hurtful way. It's part of growing up, right? Take accountability for your feelings. Be truthful, but don't use your words to hurt people. Use your words to try and build a connection with people, even when you're angry. And so I was telling Lauren this. It's okay for two people who love each other to get angry with each other. This whole notion that we shouldn't argue or work through problems, that's ridiculous. My parents never argued. And then one day, my dad just packed his bags and left. And I couldn't figure out why. And I don't think that's necessarily healthy. So it's okay to have arguments as long as you have two people that are playing fair. If you have a person who is playing by the rules and is fair, and you have an abuser, which is somebody that uses words, or sometimes there's many different types of abuse that we go into in one of the programs. There's financial abuse, there's physical abuse, there's verbal abuse, sexual abuse. If there's somebody that's abusing you, it's impossible to fight fair. It's impossible to be productive in an argument because they're not playing by the same set of rules. They're not playing by any rules. Their rules are hurt you as long as it takes to get you under control and put you back in your place. So what do you do if you're in an abusive relationship? You do what my daughter did. You sit there and you honor your soul and you honor who you are, and you say, I'm taking a time out. I'm taking a time out, and let me know, and I'll let you know if I want to re-engage in this. And they'll do everything they can to try and get you to engage back with them. They'll insult you, they'll beg you, they'll stalk you, and that's when you exercise your self-control and you go, I'm blocking you, or I'm moving out temporarily, I'm with the kids, or I'm hanging up the phone, whatever it is. But you guys know, you teach people how you are treated. People, the only reason why people abuse you is because you've made it abused. You've made it okay to be abused. If it happens one time, not your fault. But the second time, and I'm not saying abuse is your fault, but what I am saying is, please don't forget how empowered you are. If you are not around, then you are not able to be abused. If there's no audience for your abuser, the only person they can abuse is themselves, right? So if you disengage, if you quit the relationship, if you walk away, there's no one for them to abuse anymore. There's no audience. So walk away, disengage. I know it's scary. I saw the fear on my daughter's eyes when she came to the realization that she needed to end this friendship. And I remember the realization that I came to when I needed to end my marriage. It was horrible. It was horrible. It was scary. But let me tell you something. And I've said it before. You guys that are listening today, all of you, have the most amazing courage that is hiding within your body that cannot and will not come out unless you do something scary. Wasn't it Eleanor Roosevelt that said, whatever the scariest thing is that you can think of, do that? I promise you, your courage does not show up when you're folding laundry or you're remaining comfortable. Your courage bubbles up to the surface when you call on it to do something in fear. That is the only way you are going to know if you can do it. It's not logical. You can't sit there and go, okay, I'm going to do this, and then maybe if I plan it all out perfectly, I'll start to feel courageous, and then I'll do it. If you wait on courage to arrive before you take action, you're going to be waiting your entire life. The thing about courage is it doesn't show up until you're right at taking the very first scary step. And you're like, oh God, am I going to make it? and you take the step and you're like, bam, wow, I am more confident. I am more powerful. And here's the deal with courage. The more steps you take, the more it shows up, and the stronger it becomes, and the more solidified in your bones and in your gut. And you learn to count on it, and you've called on it so much in the past that the moment that you need it, you count on it to be there. Even though it's nothing tangible, but all right, I've done scary things before, I can do them again. And as long as I'm doing them, I know courage will show up and stand right next to me and get me through this. And every single one of you, there's not one of you listening that doesn't have that gift. Now, there's some of you that are listening that might not exercise it. There's some of you that are listening that are going, that don't believe me. And that will hold on to fear and stay stuck and feel helpless. That's a choice. But for all of you, you have this courage. It's innately born in you. It cannot get beaten out of you. It doesn't disappear. You don't need to read 12 self-help books or 1,000 therapy sessions to get it back. It's just there. It's not a gift. No one can give it to you. You were born with it, and it never leaves you. It's just how much are you willing to use your courage, or are you willing to ignore it? I promise you, courage will get you through this. Courage will be your hero. Courage will save you. Everything in life that's difficult about loving someone with addiction can be healed by courage, because courage is the opposite of fear. And fear is what you have been living in for a very long time. Fear that you don't deserve to be loved, fear that it will never get better, fear they will never get sober, fear that there's not somebody else out there that will love you, fear that you'll be broke, fear that people will hate you, fear. The opposite of courage. And when you live your life out of fear, you are stuck. You do not grow. Things do not get better. You do not get healed. So you have to flip it. And you have to say, even though I'm scared to death and I'm shaking in my bones, literally, there were times where I was shaking, physically shaking out of fear. I followed through with what I knew I need to do, banking on the fact that courage would show up and carry me. And it did. And now I know that I have it, and I know that it's there, and that I can use it at any time, that it's accessible, and I can easily get to it when I need it. And it's in you too. I promise you. So use it. Use it for good. Use it to honor your soul. Use it to claim who you are without apologies. Use it to put a stake in the ground and say, I am going to build a better life, because this ain't working and this is not feeling any good anymore, and I'm sick of not feeling good, and I'm sick of things not getting better, and I'm sick of being lied to, and I'm sick and tired of being manipulated, and I'm sick of being disappointed and worrying and waiting. You've got this. I believe in you. I am your greatest cheerleader. I tell you every week. You, my family, a very few group of friends is it. That's all for me. That's all I need. And I know that my life's purpose is to remind you how freaking wonderful you are. I love you. Thank you for putting up with my language this episode. And I'm here for you every step of this way.
This podcast is created for your support, encouragement, and entertainment with Michelle's personal thoughts and beliefs. From one woman to another, bonded together by the fact we love someone suffering from addiction. This is not intended as a substitute for therapy or advice from a professional.